Petko, how you doing?
I mean, I would like to say excellent, but as you can hear from my voice, the throat kind of hurts. So I'm not my best, but it's all right. It's all right.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you're sticking through it to do this with me today. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I like to be when I promise something, I like to keep that up.
That's good.
Promise.
I really appreciate that because unfortunately I've had a couple moments recently where people's schedules changed last second.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so I've unfortunately had a couple of no shows for this show. Um,
Uh-huh.
and so I appreciate you being here and you're all prepared. So it means a ton. Where are you coming to us from right now?
What do you mean?
Where are you coming to us from? Like where are you right now?
From Croatia. Actually, Kuprin is a small town in a country called Croatia.
Okay, I don't know much about like the where things are located in Croatia, but are you anywhere near the city of Zagreb?
Like an hour and a half drive. You actually know on a map where Croatia is. Could you find it if I give you the map?
I could. It would take
You
me a
could.
minute. The
Okay.
the only reason I know, and it's the same reason I'm asking about Zagreb is one of my, and I apologize, I have no idea how to pronounce Croatian words.
Mhm.
Um,
It's good.
my friend, one of my absolute best friends in the whole world is from
Mhm.
Zagreb, but he learned um, English very, very young. So he has
Uh-huh.
like he has a very, very clean like American accent. So I never
Uh-huh.
heard him pronounce Croatian words with a
Oh,
Croatian
okay.
accent. So I've not picked up on it much yet.
Huh. He
Um,
didn't give you hints on how to use a swear words or anything.
okay,
Usually,
I would love that. Give me
usually,
what
no,
should I
no,
know?
I don't want to do it now on the PG-13, right?
Okay, I totally understand.
But that is usually the first thing when someone comes in Croatia, some foreigner, first thing that you tell him how to say on Croatian is some swear words. That's like
That's
go-to thing.
that's how I was. I had a really good friend in college who was from
Mhm.
Egypt, and so he would
Mhm.
just tell me like all the Arabic swear words. Uh,
That's how it goes.
it's exactly how it goes. But
Yes.
yeah, thanks so much for being on. I want to go back and ask because I've been a subscriber of yours for I think, oh my lord, probably 2 or 3 years. I think at this
Oh,
point,
really?
yeah, for a while. I personally have really bad arachnophobia,
Hmm.
but I think
Hmm.
they're the coolest animals like ever. It's this weird thing where it's almost like I enjoy being scared by them in a sense, but I absolutely like if one were to show up like in my house right now, I'd be like on
Hmm.
top of my bed like ah, you know.
Oh,
So
still after watching my videos for 2 years.
so that's why I started. It's because
Ah.
I was thinking I was like, man, I'm really interested in these animals. I feel like if I can do some kind of exposure therapy,
Hmm.
I was like, I maybe if I like get used to seeing them in my subscriptions feed and all of that, and I'm watching the videos every day. And to be honest, I am so much less scared than I was
So
when I
that was
started.
before.
It helped, and I have so much more appreciation for them
Mhm.
because I started watching mostly of your the videos where you go to all the trade expos and you would be
Mhm.
showing off all the animals that people were selling, and then I kind of
Okay.
upgraded myself to the feeding videos and like all
Uh,
that stuff. But I wanted to ask, did your family, like when you were young,
mhm.
did your family have a lot of animals? Was this something that was kind of always in like in your lineage?
No, but as a child, I always loved animals in general. I was like a big animal guy. But for some reason, spiders were particularly interesting because they were kind of intriguing because everyone is always afraid of spider and everyone is always saying, don't touch it, don't go to spider. Oh, it's spider. And I, as a kid, was always curious and I always wanted to know why. Why are spiders so bad and so everyone was what was all the fuss about. And when I was young, I was living in a apartment building, but the outside, the it wasn't really maintained. The area around the apartment building wasn't really maintained, so there was a lot of tall grass and bushes, and they were always full with orb weavers, and I was always collecting those orb weavers, bringing them home, and then my mom would freak out because I was hiding them behind the furniture and stuff. But yeah, so from the start, I don't really know why, and it's just it is it is as it is.
So when did that kind of like when you were going out and finding them, that passion for that, when did that turn into, I'm not just going out and looking for them, I'm actually going to
Mhm.
start purchasing them, and this is going to become a real hobby for me?
Uh-huh. Well, that was way, way, way after that because I was doing that as a kid. Of course, as you grow out, especially when your surroundings looks at you when you are collecting spiders outside, surroundings are kind of shocked about what you're doing. So slowly but surely, I stopped enjoying spiders in that way. I kind of moved on, find some other hobbies, other interests, and then when I moved out of my home and I bought my own apartment, and then I was thinking I would like to have a pet, but since I work and I have so a lot other activities and I'm not that much at home, having a cat or dog wouldn't really work out with my lifestyle. And I was like, oh, tarantulas. I can now finally get tarantula because, of course, as a kid, I wanted to have a tarantula. Even in school, I lied that I have a tarantula at home, even though I didn't have had it. But of course, my mother would never allow it. And now I was like, oh, now I can get it, and that's basically how it started.
Do you think
And I
you're
was like 20, 25,
do you,
26.
you think when you were younger, your mother would have been more accepting of like a lizard or a snake, or is all of that kind of off the table, you think?
Oh, I don't know. In that time, really, in Croatia, the exotic animals weren't really a thing. You couldn't even, I mean, you probably could get some like a bearded dragon or something like that, but it was a very, very rare thing. And I didn't even consider, at that age, I didn't really consider having an animal like that. I knew that tarantulas can be pets. I know that because of the movie Home Alone, where the guy had. I think because of that, I assumed that can be kept as a pet, but I never seen it in person that someone actually keeps a tarantula.
So that was like when you moved out, or when you moved in this apartment and you got that tarantula,
Yeah.
was how did you go about figuring out what kind you're going to get? Because it's not like when people go to an adoption agency and get a cat and then you just say, I want a cat. And you look at the one, you find it. How do you figure out, oh, this is the first one I'm going to get because, oh,
Well,
whatever reasons?
that wasn't that long ago. That was 8 years ago or not 8 years ago or so. So you could already Google stuff out. So I of course started Googling, and that was basically the main reason why I started the YouTube channel, because that was the time in when YouTube started to be a bigger thing, and YouTube started to be a place uh, that would be a go-to thing when you wanted to learn something. You had a good channels on basically any topic any topic you were interested, you could find a dedicated channel. And for tarantulas, at that time, there was other tarantula channels, but that was basically other hobbyists that had a camera and just recorded almost random videos. It wasn't like a quality content, like well thought out with quality camera and such quality angles. So I was like trying to do my research, and I found out that there is like a gap, and there was not enough videos about that topic. And I thought that since I'm already researching what to do, I can maybe do a videos about it in the same time to help out others that are like just like me starting in the hobby. And that's basically how everything started. And of course, I was just googling what are basic species, and I found that Grammostolas, Brachypelmas, and such.
Was it like, I know obviously you can do all this research on the internet, but it
Hmm.
seems like something that you kind of have to have, and correct me if I'm wrong, kind of have to have some sort of back and forth with people who have direct experience with that. Like, is this something that you can really just watch videos from and be like, I'm going to do this? Or do you think you do need to talk to somebody who has actually experienced this, has a collection of these animals, and really knows
Uh-huh.
the ins and outs of collecting them?
Hmm. Well, now when I'm looking at it with this knowledge, I know that it is basically if you want to get a tarantula, you get any brachypelma, any tlutocatl, any grammostola, any aphonopelma. It's basically the same. But when you are just starting out, you are kind of overwhelmed with such a huge amount of species, and you are kind of overcomplicating and overthinking things, and you are thinking, oh, is this maybe this species is better for this? Maybe is this good? And you are basically overcomplicating a simple thing. Just get anything that you can get cheaply and that is available to you, and you will be fine.
So
So
now,
that's yeah.
when you first got into that apartment, where were you working? Like, how were you funding this collection that you were starting before you? I guess it started right around the time you started the channel, which was what, I think 2014, right?
Yeah, yeah. End of 2014. I
Okay.
got my first tarantula in I think November of 2014,
How long was it
and
before the channel was profitable and you were actually making enough money from it to keep building the collection?
2 years, 2.5 years, something like that.
Okay, so what were you doing, professionally to
Mhm.
pay your bills before that became
Uh,
your full job?
I was working in a surveying office, you know, buildings and stuff.
And now is that something that you are also like that's a big like passion of yours, or is it just kind of like I'm
No, no,
doing
no,
this to kind of supply what I'm
no.
doing?
No. I was. I finished my school and I didn't go to college, and I had to find a job. And in my apartment, there was a guy that had a surveying office, and I asked him, "Hey, do you maybe need some help?" And that's how I ended up. It's totally random.
So that okay.
It is not even my profession. It is just something that I learned. Basically, when I was working after a few years, I learned everything that you need to do to work there. But it was totally random and unplanned.
So how many places have you lived since that first apartment when you were 22?
So I was just it's my one apartment where I live with my family, and then I moved into my own apartment when I was 25.
Okay, and then is that the same apartment? It's not the same apartment you're in now. Now is it?
No. I moved in the house as I found I met my wife. We hang out, then we started living together. Then we bought this house, and now we have a baby. So yeah, it is
Congratulations.
going in a straight line.
What is your plan with your child if they're not so comfortable with these animals as you are?
She already is because I'm not really sure if that's the case with every baby or young kid. When they first see a spider or any creepy crawler, they will basically be interested, at least from what I have seen. They will always be interested because they have no idea what that is. And people, I mean, kids in the nature, they are curious in nature. So they will wonder, what the hell is that? And then when they see her, then they hear their mother go, ah! Then of course, then the kid will be like, ah! And that's how I think that is the result. Or you watched it on TV where there is scary spiders or something like that. Everything, all of that influence on that. But when you take just a baby that never seen that and never had any reaction to it, then it's just a piece of paper to it that moves.
Did your wife have the same amount of interest in this as you did before she
No,
met you?
no. She has zero interest.
She's still,
Yeah, she's like, oh,
but zero interest versus, not being able to be around them. I don't know if I'm going to be
no,
honest,
no.
I don't know if I could sleep in a house like I said, I love them. I don't know if I could sleep sound knowing all of
Mhm.
that was beneath me. Was that ever a problem for her?
No. She was never afraid of them. It was to her that was like I know that when we started dating, she came to my apartment and looking out. At that time I had like maybe 10, 15. I was just starting out 10, 15 tarantulas. One shelf with bunch of enclosures, and she was like, "Oh, I just hope that one day your apartment won't be full with them." And I was like, "No, why would
Well,
come on?"
technically, the dark den is full of them,
Yeah,
not the house.
yeah, yeah. But it started in apartment, and then it was growing in the apartment to the point where I no longer had enough spot to place enclosures.
And
Then I moved
that's why you
into
moved.
then I moved into a like a how do you say it, like a office building with where I had a space there for dark den. That was first dark den. That was second dark den. Then I moved into a third dark den, also an office space, and then I moved. So this is basically fourth dark den, the final dark den for most likely.
I mean, it's beautiful. I remember watching the videos when you were first moving over, and I was like,
Hmm.
"Damn, this is so cool!" Like, I want to do it. I have a leopard gecko. That's my
So that is that thing behind you, that enclosure behind
Yes.
you.
Oh yeah. I forgot. You can see it. The audience
Yeah,
is seeing
yeah,
me
yeah.
from a separate camera from a DSLR. But yes, I have
Ah.
an enclosure with a leopard gecko. His name
Hmm.
is Kevin. He's the best in the whole
Yeah.
world. I love him so
Mhm.
much.
It is a guy.
Yes. To be honest,
Well.
I thought so, but
Uh-huh.
I checked when he was a baby, and then
Hmm.
I don't know if I checked very thoroughly because I looked again and I was like, I don't know. I'm not a professional at this. I take very
Hmm.
good care of him, but I'm not a professional at this at all.
Hmm.
But I've had him for I was very lucky because I had one when I was a kid, and
Hmm.
he was or was a she. That was a she. I know that. I think they told me at the store. They might have been lying. Who knows? Um,
Maybe they guessed.
there's
Who knows?
there's honestly probably true. It was from a PetSmart in upstate New York State. So I don't know if they're the most experienced in that.
Yes.
But she unfortunately got the Enigma syndrome. She had that gene, and so she couldn't. She only lived about 5 years because she wasn't able to hunt anymore.
Hmm.
Um, and I think he's been pretty good. He's been a little funky. He will spend like he'll go a week where he just wants to sleep, and then I'm like, oh, he's dying. He doesn't want to eat. Then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm eating it now. I'm eating now. So I don't
uh,
really know, but
how
he's been
how
good.
old? How old is
Uh,
he? I mean, for how long do you have him or her?
it's I actually honestly at this point it could be either. Um, I got I got Kevin in 2021. I think February of 2021. I think he was about a month old, so he's probably about like a
Ah,
little over 2 years old.
so I thought that you have it like to have him for a longer period of time, so it's kind of fresh
Yeah, it
still.
is.
Oh.
And he was like really healthy for about 2 years, and then recently he started doing that thing where he'll be like, I don't want to eat. He will eat.
Hmm.
A couple months ago, he didn't eat for 3 weeks. I was trying everything, crickets, mealworms, all that. Um,
Hmm.
and he just would shed like every 2 weeks, and he wouldn't want to eat, and he would just sleep. Then all of a sudden, he started eating again, and then he'll like take a
Hmm.
week off. I don't really know, but I do. I've been trying my absolute best because I want to have him for a very long time. I don't know how my
Hmm.
girlfriend feels about that because by the time we end up getting married, if he's still alive, that'll be an interesting thing. But we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
She doesn't like even the leopard geckos. I mean, they have like a cute face and everything.
Oh no, she likes him. She does. She has admitted after about a year that it is cute.
Hmm.
I got there. She didn't think so at first. To be honest, baby leopard geckos, I honestly don't think are the cutest. I think they're the best when they're fully grown.
Hmm.
They're like chunky. But
Hmm.
when I got him, I didn't explain that he will, if he's very healthy his whole life, can live upwards of was it like 2 decades, something like that.
Yeah, 50 to 20 years easily they can live. Yeah.
And I don't think she expected that. Well, she'll have to get used to it because Kevin's my ride or die. So after you started your channel, you said it took about what 2 years for you to really
Mhm.
start making money off of that, and that's when you ended up quitting your job 2 years in, and that became your
Mhm.
full time.
Yeah, yeah. In
Okay,
2017.
2017. So
Yeah.
this is your full time job. You have this collection.
Hmm.
How do you? I don't know how to phrase this because again, I'm a casual person in this. I'm not experienced in this.
Uh-huh. Well,
How do you grow a collection like that where it's like I want to have this thing specifically,
hmm.
just on a personal level, but
Hmm.
maybe if I make content with this other animal that I don't like so much, that's going to get me more
Uh-huh.
traction. Do you balance that at all? Or is it just I get what I want to get, I take care of what I want to take care of, and then the content comes after that?
The thing is, since I'm super interested in all animals, that I can't really say that I get some animal just because of use. Maybe I will think, I think that this animal could potentially bring in more views, but in the same time, I also want to have it. So it is like double dip. I get it is a good performing video because of the animal, and also I get the enjoyment of having that animal. So I don't have a problem with that. But I think that you also want to ask how do you get to the point to having a huge collection, right? You also asked that.
Well, I was just saying, like, how do you balance growing your collection where it's just things that you want to have versus views, but also
Mm,
how are you? I remember you're building most of these terrariums, right? You're
mm.
not buying them off the shelf. You're buying the
Everything,
plexi, everything now.
everything that you can see in the dark then was built by me.
So is that specifically
In-
like a money saving measure? You want to get as much for every dollar, or is it that for the
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
things you have, you want to build it so it fits perfectly
Mm.
in your house?
Once again, also double dip because I enjoy DIY and I always love. I get the enjoyment from just knowing that I built this by myself. I was also always like that. But in the same time, when you build an enclosure, you also save money. So two things. And when I come from like a lower middle class family. I don't know how it's that in US, but in Croatia, you always had just enough to be a normal, but not that you can get things that you don't really need. And the good thing about tarantulas is that they are super cheap. It is not expensive to get a couple of tarantulas, so that was also a plus.
I always thought
And
that was crazy. I'd go into well, ironically, I'd go into a Petco, and
mhm.
they would they would be like, it would be like a tarantula for $29.99, and then
Mhm.
and I know there's it's complicated, so I'm not saying that it shouldn't be this, but it always used to blow my mind that for $30 I could get a tarantula, and that for
Mhm.
like $150 I could get like a little turtle. I always thought that was crazy because as a kid I'm thinking like a tarantula. I could find a turtle in my backyard. I know it's a different breed and all that, but it.
Mhm.
Why are they so inexpensive?
Oh, well, it also comes down to the species. Not all species are equally priced. You have especially here in Europe, prices are way, way, way cheaper than in US because we have many breeders and the scene is really big, especially in Poland and Germany. So you can basically go to the expo and get some small sling for less than $5, €5. So they can be super, super expensive. If you get some common species that is easy to breed and that got a lot of babies in one single egg sac. So it all depends on that. And then you have the more sought after species that usually the ones that are more expensive, it is because they are harder to breed. So less breeders had a successful exec, but more people want to have that species, and it is simple. How do you say it? Offer and demand, supply and demand.
What's the most
It,
expensive tarantula that generally? What's the one that like is the absolute kind of top of the food chain in that
it
regard?
is it is always something that is new in the hobby, because constantly there is still ton of undiscovered tarantula species, ton of. There is like I'm not sure what is the number now, but there is around now 900 described picture of this. I'm mixing subscribe with describe.
It's all good.
Described tarantulas like 900, but there are a ton of just species that someone found in the nature. It is not a described species, but it looks unique, so they collect it and bring it in the hobby, breed it, and so everything. When something is new, it is everyone wants it. Usually, the that got more flashier colors, like metallic colors. Blue is always really expensive, in tarantulas.
I always see those like light hair blue ones. I think they're so cool.
Uh,
What are they like the cobalt blue? I think is what they usually describe them here.
you have the electric blue, you have the Metallica, Petzalteria Metallica, and yeah, you have a bunch of blue tarantulas. But when something new that is also blue, it is like, oh, everyone wants that.
Now, what was the most difficult of your collection to acquire? Not just based on cost, but just finding someone who is breeding them and shipping them and all that.
Huh. Difficult. I don't really have difficulties because I'm not really into getting those new species anymore. I was at the start, but then you reach a point where okay, it's just another new blue tarantula. It is just another a slightly different tarantula that got slightly longer hairs and the tips are slightly white. And now it costs €500 instead of €50. And I was like, okay, So it started. I was riding the hype, like, oh, it would be awesome to get that. But now I'm like, okay, I have plenty of tarantulas, and I also reached the point where I noticed that, especially now with kid, when you get a baby, when you get a child, it kind of changes your perspective on free time because you start to value your free time much more because you have less. And now I realize that basically everything I do in the dark day, I just come here, do the maintenance, everything I need to do, record the video, go upstairs, do stuff that come here, maintenance, go upstairs. So I basically don't come down here to enjoy. And I started all of this to enjoy. And so I'm trying to now reduce the number of tarantulas, reduce the maintenance here. I'm trying to automate things because I reached the point where there is no more enjoyment and just work. I mean, work is above the enjoyment. So I want now move the enjoyment above.
So how do you plan on doing that? You're just going to come down and just kind of look at your collection more often?
I mean, I said to myself 2 months ago that I won't be getting any new animals, but then I go to the expo and some person comes with you like, oh, I got this just for you. Look, this is just awesome. And I'm like, I said to myself, at the same time, I don't want to disappoint that person that is bringing me the tarantula. And at the same time, yes, I want it. And then now I returned from Expo in Germany with 20 more tarantulas and 20 more spiders.
And people send you a lot as well, too, right?
No, not anymore. Not anymore. I haven't since I moved out of that previous dark den. I no longer have the address where someone can send me. I don't want to give my home address.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially now with a wife and a child. That makes total sense.
Yeah, of course. So I don't have the address where I can just receive safely those packages, and it's better like that because I reached my maximum.
I also don't know if you can have live animals sent to like a separate mailbox. I don't know how that works when it comes.
How you mean
like
the thing is in my town you don't really have the PO box things that you got in the US. We don't have that.
Okay. I'm sort of, like I said, I'm sort of aware of the kind of the differences between Croatia and the States because of my friend, but not on all things. I still every time I talk to him about something, I'll be like, "Do you have this thing? You have that?" He probably is annoyed at me by now, but guess what? The thing is, he lives here now, so he can't ask me anything. So I'm basically just
so he knows everything.
He knows everything. But now that we've talked so much about the dark den and your collection, I know this is going to be, because again, even over the screen, I get a little squeamish. Would you mind giving us a little tour and showing off some of your collection?
Sure. Actually, I have some sneak peek for you and for the people that are watching, because I'm currently I have one tarantula that I paired like months and months ago, and I was the female ate male, and I recorded that, but I didn't do a video about it because I wanted to do like when she makes an egg sac, I will also record that, and when there's babies, I will record that and make one big video out of full experience. And months and months and months passed, and there is no egg sac. And now I was convinced that the female won't do an egg sac. But yesterday, when I came here at night, I noticed that she did a lot of webbing. So I was like, okay, she's either going to molt or she will make an egg sac. And I set up the camera, and camera was recording through the whole night and now through the entire day. And she did ton of web, but she still didn't molt. And she still didn't do an egg sac, but I'm pretty sure that if she planned to molt, she would already molt. So I'm like, please be egg sac, please be egg sac. So I can show you actually how that looks.
I would love to see that.
If I bring everything a lot of light, because she's right here on the table, and we can switch to this camera. Or first, wait.
You know, I fancy this show as kind of being like a internet late night talk show. So I'm so happy you're like my animal expert, you know, and like when Johnny Carson or Jimmy Fallon has people on, that's what I'm so excited about this.
Okay. I'm glad that I'm in the exciting domain.
You're the trust me, I've been so hyped for this for weeks. Ever since I you said yes, I've been like so excited.
Honestly, honestly, when you contacted me, I wasn't sure. I didn't get from the email. I didn't get if you actually know my content, if you follow me. I thought that you just heard about me and I could potentially be interesting, and that's why you reached out. I didn't realize that you're actually a Dark Den follower.
Oh yeah, I've been a subscriber, like I said, for probably 2 or 3 years.
uh,
I again with all the like the phylum and all the particular names, I don't pick up that well at all. So I'm not
uh-huh.
experienced in like the technical parts of it, but just from like a content. Oh, let me go over. Oh, uh, sorry. That wait,
So,
I gotta get a close look
so,
at this.
so as you can see, she did a lot of all of this is fresh web, and there is this part is like super thick, and she still got a super thick abdomen, so she didn't make an egg, but I think that she plans to lay eggs right there. So
Wow,
that's why I hope that it will happen this night.
that's so cool.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that is what will that I will get the opportunity to actually record it, because I never recorded how tarantula makes an egg. That is definitely on my bucket list
Did you
to
ever
do.
consider working at like I mean, now you don't have to because you have your own zoo. But was there ever a thought like,
Mhm.
man, I want to maybe be like a zoologist and work at a zoo somewhere?
Well, yeah, when I was a kid, I basically wanted to be two things. Or one my wish was to be a car mechanic, and my second wish was to be a how do you say it? The explorer of animals. I always watched the documentaries, and when people scientists went to the jungles and discovered new species, discovered new animals, I wanted to be those guys.
That is
So
awesome.
those were my two things that I was like, as a kid that I loved. So let me now give you a bit of tour. Actually, I need to turn on some lights. And also, the Dark Dead is actually two parts. This is
Hmm.
the one room where I record the video, where I record videos, and I have the other room where I have more tarantulas.
Yeah.
And here are bigger tarantulas. Here is the junglarium, still in work in progress, and over there I have some smaller ones. And okay, so I'm going to take you on a little tour, but I don't know how much you will be able to see. And also, since you are watching my videos, you should probably already be familiar with all of these, you
Wow.
know. And since it is kind of night, it is kind of late here in Croatia. It is now 10 p.m. So they are basically most of them are out. So this one is huge, huge, huge,
Wow.
huge. Maybe I can open it. Oh, never
Oh.
mind. And she got huge booty. You see?
This is gonna sound really stupid, but it's so much
Yes.
cooler. Like I know it's still video, but the fact that you're
Mhm.
doing this live, I'm like I
Yeah,
feel like I'm
yeah, yeah.
there.
I know that it is not the same watching something recorded or watching something live. I know that it's different. This is Sashenka,
Oh my gosh. It's
and she's
beautiful.
Grammostola rosea. So she's basically the species, just like my first tarantula. Sasha was my first tarantula, and he was Grammostola rosea. I got it as a sling that big, but unfortunately, it turned out to be a male, and he matured, and then he attempted to, I'm not sure how are you how do I say, how familiar are you with how tarantulas develop and stuff. But once male reach maturity, he basically stays like that. He no longer molts. But sometimes mature male will try to do a post molt, and usually it is they just get stuck in the molt, being not able to pull out. That's what usually happens, and that is what happened to Sasha. But also sometimes it can happen that they manage to molt, but they will in that molt they will always lose their pedipalps,
Hmm.
and their pedipalps they have their like reproductive organs. So I don't know if that's a nature way to okay, no, your time is out. You will no longer be able to reproduce. So anyhow, the junglarium. I recently installed new lights inside, and it is now inside. It is super bright, and I have one actual problem, a real problem. I don't know if you are familiar with how aquariums work and that stuff, but you see that this black stuff. You see that?
Oh yeah. It's like
So
is that
that
like
is
mildew
all
or something?
algae. Now,
Ah.
because it is so bright in here, the algae boomed. everything is covered in algae now. So therefore, I turned off this light, and now I only have these lights on, and we'll see if that will kind of help. And also, I bought today. I actually bought the dimming thing, so I can dim the lights and reduce the light, because I still think that it is too bright. Because you can see how this plant is actually starting to become a bit yellowish, and that
Uh-huh.
is kind of the sign of too much light. So I will definitely need to tone it down, but that is even better because then I decrease my electric bill like with that.
Are these
And
all
now
LEDs, right? That you're lighting everything
yes,
with?
yes, yes. Uh, the lights are here turned off because lights are all automatically turning on and off. And I'm not really sure if you will be able to still see, since this is wireless and now we are like on the other side of the wall. Maybe you will lose me.
I will let you know. We're good
Yeah.
right now. Now remind me,
Okay.
because like I said, I forget the names pretty easily.
Hmm.
That's how I do everything. Now that there's the main two types of tarantula. There's the ones that burrow, and then there's the ones that climb. Correct? That they can climb up like
Yes,
smooth
yes, yes.
surfaces.
Arboreal and terrestrial.
Gotcha.
So, so basically, the ones that are down in these taller enclosures, you have arboreals, and in these narrower enclosures, you have terrestrials. Also, in these with more substrate, you see where you have the holes. And this is actually, you mentioned this one. This is the cobalt blue.
Oh,
You see,
wow.
you can actually see the blue in it. And that is a heavy burrower, so therefore it got a lot of substrate and it got just digs a hole. And when you touch the door, it just bolts inside.
Is it true
Also,
that for most of these, if you were to
yeah.
get bitten, it's basically like a bad bee sting for a lot of them?
Uh, I never, I never personally been bit, but from people say if you got bit by a New World tarantula, so from North and South America, then that is a bee sting. But if some of like cobalt blue, that one is from Asia. If that bites you, then it's a bit nastier because it hurts much more. Also, I apologize. There is a kind of mess in the dark then because I have too much stuff and too little space, but that should that should soon change because I will be building a garage outside, and garage will serve me to be a dedicated place to build enclosures. Because as you know, I'm starting to build enclosures and sell them, so I need a dedicated spot for that.
Absolutely.
And yeah,
This is kind of the area, unless I'm getting my wires crossed. I remember you had a
yes.
tarantula escape for a couple days, and you ended up finding. Was that is that around where you are right now? There,
What the
I
heck?
remember watching a video of yours where you had a tarantula escape for like a day or two, and I remember you saying you found them
Uh-huh.
up, and you were taking out all of the cork bark,
Yeah,
and then you
it was.
found him like up under like a new terrarium that you were building or something. I can't remember.
Hmm. Maybe that was some older video in some other dark den, because I know that one tarantula that escaped, the Pizzoteria ornata, she was right over there. She was in those boxes, but that was also a long time ago. So yeah, that's the dark den. Do you
That's
want to see something specific?
um I don't know.
You don't know.
I I'm just enjoying. I'm just enjoying looking at all of them. It's
Look at
amazing
these.
how I simultaneously think that they're so scary, but they're so gorgeous. They're one of the most gorgeous animals ever. Oh,
Look at this
and
crowd.
that's now. Wait, can you go? Would you mind zooming in on that for me, real quick?
Uh-huh. Yeah, they are now all escaping, but
No, I don't want. Don't do that. Don't risk that. Oh
I
my
mean they are
gosh.
running in the enclosure. And also, so here I have some other species. Look at this now.
Ooh. I live in. Oh no. Now I honestly, I have a bad experience. Now, what are those specifically? Those are which type. No.
and, and escape.
No.
Let me just pick it up. Up. So good.
What species are those?
Giant cave roaches, something like that. Honestly, I'm not really good with names of roaches and other animals. I'm good with tarantulas, but That's basically it.
I'm in New York City and we have giant cockroaches. Like I've
Hmm.
seen some at least the size of those. And so I have honestly a bad taste in my mouth from roaches because
Uh-huh.
in the summer here it's crazy. And the worst part is it's New York City, so it's not even like they're clean and I can feed them to my leopard gecko.
But that's the main problem with roaches and why people are like freaking out when it comes to roaches. They are just like any other bug, you know. But the problem is they go through sewage and trash and everything, and they pick up bacteria on themselves and on them, and that's why they are actually bad. But they are just, like any other bug, nothing special.
That's
Okay,
true.
and they reproduce super fast. So I'm not really sure which is the species that you got, because here in Croatia we have roaches, but they're like like this big, maybe not bigger than this, like crickets that size.
Okay, yeah.
And you say you have huge ones,
We
huh?
have them that like to be honest, I'm not sure what they are either, but we'll have them they're all over the place. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
ones, I mean the babies are I'd say about that, but I've had
Mm-hmm.
fully grown ones that are like, well, let me put my hand to like my floor so I can get the perspective right. I'd say about there
Mm-hmm.
probably, and they fly, and I am not a fan about
You
that.
mean fly like up or down?
They can fly in all directions. I've seen
Are you
them go
sure?
from the roof, like my ceiling,
Mhm.
to the floor, and I've seen them go from the
Okay.
floor to the top of a
Oh,
door.
really? Huh.
Unless I was hallucinating on because I was spraying Raid in my house and I'm ingesting the
uh
fumes. But
Maybe
I've seen
maybe
them
we're
crazy.
just panicking.
They're they're I mean honestly if they're like in an enclosure I'm okay with it. But when
Mhm.
I get up to pee at 2 in the morning and
Mhm.
one crawls over my foot, they're now my enemy.
Yeah. But those, I don't know if you noticed, but those roaches, those last one that I showed you, got wings, but they can only use them to like glide, so
Gotcha.
they can go from higher spot to lower spot, but they cannot fly from here to here. They can only go from here to here, from here to here.
Okay.
So,
It's possible that I'm hallucinating. Like it's possible that just in the moment I saw them do that and they didn't at all. But
yeah, you just seen them fly, and that was it. That was like, oh, they can fly.
I saw him fly, and like I said earlier, I was like, especially I'm a little better now, but when I first moved to the city, it was really this apartment is where we first started getting roaches. Oh my lord,
Mhm.
me and my roommate, we'd a roach would crawl over us, and we're like, where is it? Where is it? One of us has a shoe, and the other one's like
Uh,
freaking out. But now we're a little more comfortable.
yeah, a little more used to it. So,
Exactly. Well,
in,
Petko,
in
thank
in
you.
which part of sorry, but in which part of New York are you?
I'm in Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, so I live in a very old apartment too. It's from
Uh,
1885 or something like that.
yeah.
And people who don't live in the city don't they have a bad perspective. Like, well, you must be dirty, you must not be cleaning, but they're everywhere.
You mean because of I was when we went to New York, we were also in Brooklyn, but we were in some neighborhood where basically all black people were.
Mhm.
We were like we were walking and hmm, hmm, we are the only white people on this street. Like, oh, cool.
New York, I'd say the neighborhoods in New York are kind
Uh,
of like you'll go to one place where you see a lot of people. Like I know, like
mhm,
Italian people have like a whole part of New York. Then you have black people who have like their certain parts.
mhm.
I don't know. It's just kind of New York is because so many people came to New York that
Yeah,
like
like every big town. Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's such a big city that families, I think, when they come to New York, they kind of find their spot and then their family and then their friends. It's kind of which is
Mm,
honestly it's really cool about New York because you can go to one spot and you could be like seeing all this from this culture that I wouldn't
mm,
experience and in like my regular life, and then you go over 3 blocks and it's something totally different. It can it's way more different than it was when I grew up because I grew up in like
mm,
central New York State, which is kind
mhm.
of it's we would say it's out in the boonies, like it's in the middle of nowhere. So it's you can drive forever and not much is changing in terms of basically anything. But here it's crazy. You go a couple blocks and it's almost like a whole different city on a block to block basis, which is honestly why I love it. Like it can be tiring at times because the city has a lot of, it's always on and you don't
Yes.
always want to be on. Sometimes you want to
It is
be
it is
low.
known about that, right?
It's the city that never sleeps. and that can tire you out. But man, just like the diversity of the city is absolutely, I hate the word intoxicating. I think that's cringy, but I will say it's like endlessly like exciting to experience. But
do you prefer living there on the contrast of from where you came?
There's benefits to both. I'm kind of a homebody, which makes me like to be somewhere that's quiet, but I also really love the entertainment industry, and I went to school here for drumming, and I'm a DJ. That's how I've been paying.
So then you need to be in a town like New York then.
Yeah, it's this weird balance where like when I'm home, I want to hear nothing and be quiet, but at the same time, I like having the option to go somewhere and have it be like really exciting. So I don't know. It's a little bit of both, and maybe when I'm like 30, I'm 24 right now. I'm thinking about when I'm 30, maybe I'll move to somewhere that's sort of like a suburb around the city, so I can have kind of the best of both worlds. That's all dependent on if this YouTube channel starts feeding me, which it has not yet, which is why I DJ on weekend nights. But we'll cross. Like I said, with that, I don't know what I was talking about before where I said this, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Oh, the leopard gecko. That's what I was talking about.
Well, we really enjoyed the New York, and it was, we were like shocked when we realized we also stayed in Brooklyn, and basically every day we went to Manhattan. And then at one point you notice that you are traveling for 45 minutes, and it seems like you are traveling for like 10 minutes maximum in the because it is so alive here. Because from my town to a neighboring big town, it takes 45 minutes, and it is like, oh, I'm going on a drive. It takes time, so you don't want to go every day to that town, and because it takes 45 minutes to drive there. Well, here we were driving every day for that 45 minutes, and we didn't even realize. We were like, man, that is like every day that we are traveling to that town. It doesn't feel like that because it is always someone entering, and everything is like different.
It distracts you. It becomes like it's never monotonous. There's always something happening. So when you're going somewhere, and that's what it is like coming from Brooklyn to New York to the city, Manhattan, it's like 40 minutes, but you just get kind of used to it. It doesn't feel like that. It just feels like you're going down the street, well, because to be fair, you're not going that far. Like it takes a while to travel in the city, but yeah, I don't know. I love it. And if I move, then I'll be a huge hypocrite when if I ever leave. I can go back in this footage and be like, oh, look at me, I'm such an idiot.
Well, yeah, I mean, you experienced, the experience is the main thing. Even if something is maybe not better for you, but it's something that you a part of life,
Yes, sir.
Even if you think that something is better.
That's a beautiful sentiment, Petko. I appreciate it. And thank you.
I tried to form something about it, but yeah.
No, that's perfect.
You get what I mean. Yeah.
You brought this whole conversation up to a beautiful conclusion with positivity.
Excellent.
Well, Petko, thank you so much for joining me today. Before I let you go, is there anything you want to say? Anything you want to promote, push, whatever?
It's all good.
Oh. Well,
I have a YouTube channel about tarantulas, so if anyone is interested, Google Dark Dem. That's basically it.
Hell yeah, and the link. I'll have the link in the description too, so you guys can go all watch that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on today. To be honest, I'm not sure off the top of my head when the next show is. I think it's next Thursday. It's another weird day, but thank you all for joining me. I'll see you guys when I see you.